Welcome back to the Todd Starnes Show. Tim Van Horn, live from the flagship station, KWAM. I do mornings at Todd's station in Memphis, Tennessee. An honor to be with you. Todd is on assignment right now. Our phone number, 844-747-8868. Check out our live show blog at toddstarnes.com. That is toddstarnes.com. Coming up next hour, we'll have Corey Lewandowski here on the Todd Starnes Show. Joining us on the program right now is the congressman from the great state of South Carolina. We say good afternoon to Congressman Jeff Duncan. Congressman, thanks for joining me on the Todd Starnes Show. Good afternoon, Congressman. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Tim. Thanks for having me on today.
Hey, thank you. Grace Baker, of course, in our Breaking News Center had some news earlier that the House of Representatives voted and passed a bill creating a 51st state in Washington, D.C. A little bit earlier this morning. I would assume that you voted against that?
I voted against that. Look, this is a power grab by the Democrats in D.C. to try to add 2 more senators to the United States Senate to ensure that they've got control of the Senate for the next 50 years. And that's all this is about. Hopefully the Senate will kill it.
Is there any chance that a filibuster could be maybe an end around done on that? Because I wouldn't think that they could get enough votes to pass that with 60.
No, they couldn't. And it would take doing away with the filibuster. You know, it's amazing that the future of our country rests on the shoulders of a senator named Joe Manchin. But that's really where it is.
Oh, well, we'll continue to keep an eye on that, and thank you for your vote sticking to keeping us at 50 states. Let's move on, though, to some other pressing issues and looking at the border. We've been talking about Biden and Harris and some of the negligence when it comes to being comforters-in-chief during this racially divisive time. But in the meantime, we have a crisis not just up in Minnesota with what's been stirred up, but also at the southern border that there's not getting a lot of press about lately. What's going on down there, sir?
Well, the Biden administration continues to set records. They set a record in March and April. 23,000 migrant children in custody right now. 20,000 record was set in April. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris has refused to go to the border. She is what the borders are. And it's almost been a month since she's been appointed that. She refuses to go and address the border crisis. But yet they try to be woke and say we're not going to use the term illegal alien, which is a term that is common and has been used forever. So they're just trying to be an awoken administration and not address the fact that 172,000 individuals in 1 month were apprehended at the border by our Border Patrol. It's just crazy.
It's incredible, Congressman. And we've heard stories about as far west as California. We've seen the situation in East Tennessee here in Chattanooga where unaccompanied minors are being housed and people are getting pushed out, even the homeless, in putting illegal aliens, putting those that do not have citizenship ahead of those American citizenships because homeless Americans are still Americans nonetheless. What's the situation in South Carolina?
You know, it's about the same, but millions upon millions of dollars have been spent by the Biden administration to house illegal aliens when we have folks on the street, a lot of which are veterans that are homeless. You hit on it just right. We're seeing records being set. The simple thing is to secure the border. You know, build the wall, secure the border, enforce the laws. But this is a huge voting bloc that they want, and that is why they're attracting the migrants that are coming across, and they're saying, Biden, let us in. They're wearing the T-shirts that say that because he said that on the campaign trail. And this is going to hurt our democracy in the long run.
Congressman, I think what's even more frustrating, if I'm not mistaken, the money has already been earmarked for the building. Biden's administration just basically told them to just lay all the parts and just send the labor home. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think so, and that's going to be challenged in court. The law is the law. They haven't changed that. He can't just wipe it away with an executive order, so the courts are going to get involved. But we've got to build the wall. It has shown that it was effective under the Trump administration to curb illegal immigration and to stop the migrant hordes that were coming. And if you look at Article 4, Section 4, the United States government guarantees every state that joins the union a Republican form of government and will protect them against invasion. And I believe we're seeing an invasion in this country of folks that aren't legal and aren't approaching legal means to get here.
And there's not that many enumerated powers that the federal government's given. It's not as if there's a long laundry list, as you mentioned. And one of those is protecting our national sovereignty. And it seems like that ball is being dropped left and right. And speaking of the ball, I'd love to take a couple of minutes with you, Congressman, and talk about the Major League Baseball and their antitrust exemption that they've had, I guess, it's for almost 100 years now?
Yeah, that's correct. They've had an antitrust exemption, and Major League Baseball is the ultimate woke industry, professional sports. But then we saw Delta and Coca-Cola and other companies do the same thing when they decided to pull out of Atlanta with the All-Star game. But they got political when they did that. The Major League Baseball organization got political, and they shouldn't have the antitrust exemptions that they have from the United States government because they are involved in politics now.
You know, it's interesting because they moved from Atlanta, one of the most diverse cities in the country, and it would have been a perfect opportunity to celebrate the life and legacy of Hank Aaron and move it to one of the least diverse cities in Denver, all over voting integrity. And it's just as hard, in fact, even harder to get into a baseball game at will call without an ID than it is to even vote in the United States. The legislation seemed like it was common sense, made it easier and more accessible for everybody.
Absolutely. Voter ID is the law of the land in, I think, New York, and they have more stringent requirements for voting in the state of New York, which is the home of the Major League Baseball organization, their home offices. But yet Georgia said, we're going to make sure that our voters feel like there is integrity in our election system. We're going to make sure that the people who vote, they actually expanded weekend voting. And Joe Biden comes out there, President Biden comes out there, misspeaks, doesn't tell the truth, and then that is taken as the truth by these organizations, and they're woke, and they decide, well, we're going to punish Georgia. Well, you know, there are going to be lawsuits filed now against Major League Baseball for loss of revenue by pulling that game, I believe.
So many mom and pop businesses around those stadiums and hotel, hospitality industry. It's a massive hit to them. Congressman Jeff Duncan from South Carolina's 3rd District joining us on the Todd Starnes Show. Congressman, I believe you filed this along with the help of Senator Mike Lee out of Utah. Are you seeing any traction, any response on pulling that exemption?
You know, I don't believe Nancy Pelosi's Democrat-run House will take this bill up because they like the woke nation that we have. If it's going to go anywhere, it's going to start in the Senate. I applaud Mike Lee and Ted Cruz and others that have gotten behind this effort. It may just be a shot across the bow, Tim, but it is the right shot to take across the bow against that woke organization, the Major League Baseball, who has done the wrong thing because they're going to hurt African-American businesses, minority-owned businesses in the Atlanta area.
I mean, where do we go for our entertainment, Congressman? Because, you know, baseball's been our national pastime, but is it now past time to watch baseball? It's very difficult to find a sport where you're not getting an airing of grievances or some sort of message of guilt before every sporting event. And it seems like the woke culture has taken over the one thing where we can go sit down next to a perfect stranger who we may disagree with 180 degrees politically and have a great time just hanging out for 3 hours.
Yeah, Tim, I mean, you and I share a love for baseball. You were an announcer at a minor league park. I love baseball. I play congressional baseball here. I love the sport, and I love the pastime. I love the 7th inning stretch. I love to hear a radio announcer announcing a ball game. In fact, that's one of my bucket list items. I'd love to be a color guy on a baseball game. But where do we go now? You're exactly right. I guess country music or some sort of maybe golf where we're alone and we have to wear a mask on the golf course and make sure that we don't do something as what the left wants us to do. Who knows anymore?
No offense, Congressman, but I would probably wear a mask on the golf course. I'm so bad, I wouldn't want anybody to see my face anyway. But I tell you what, if you get into town, let's go hit 18 over at the TPC at Southwind. It's absolutely gorgeous. They have the World Golf Championships over there. Maybe we can go tee it up and talk a little conservatism if you don't mind. I sure do appreciate you, Congressman Jeff Duncan from South Carolina, District 3. Always a pleasure and an honor to have you as I sit in for Todd Starnes this afternoon.
Great being on, Tim. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. All right, there's Congressman Jeff Duncan.